United States and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100 plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100 plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500 plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. Supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000 plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100 plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security.
Hello everyone, a very warm welcome back to all of you in one more impactful session of Learning and Development webinar. My name is Pratibha and I'll be your moderator today. So if at any point you have any question or if you would like to connect with our speaker today for any kind of query, please feel free to use the chat box. So I hope you are all ready for today's session. Just allow me a minute to share my screen. Meanwhile, please do let us know from where you guys are watching. We would be happy to know that. So on behalf of the Global Skill Development Council, I'm truly delighted to welcome you all into the GSDC Certified Learning and Development Lab, building future-ready skills, strong leaders, and business impact. Innovating learning to develop skills, leaders, and measurable results. And one of the things which make this webinar so interesting is the amazing expert panel we have lined up for you. Some of them have already delivered a very incredible and insightful sessions, and others are all set to bring in more powerful ideas. But before starting the session, let me give you a quick introduction who we are. Global Skill Development Council is a globally recognized certification body. We are accredited by ABICB. Till yet, we have a 250,000 professional certified with us. We are partnered with 100 plus training providers, 1,000 plus multinational companies, and 50 plus universities worldwide. We also have 500 plus subject matter experts across globe with us who help us developing our program. And these are the training partners who are associated with us from Asia, Africa, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, US, UK, and many other regions. So special thanks to all training partners to be associating with us. And a very special thank you to our media partner, White Press Hub, for covering all of our press releases and event releases. Before starting the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we have launched a unique platform called GSDC AI Studio, Lifelong Learning Initiative. In GSDC AI Studio, you're going to get 100 plus live monthly sessions with global experts, including 4 daily sessions, 45-minute live expert lead session for hands-on learning, sessions from global experts. Now you can learn directly from our AI leaders around the world. Real-time practice, you can apply concept immediately and get your question answered. Certification ready, you will be getting the training aligned with industry standard for job ready skills. So currently we are covering 100 plus certification in our portfolio, including learning and development, HR, Gen AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor and implementer, project management and PMO, agile DevOps and SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and many more. But once you get certified with GSTC, you just don't walk away with certification. You also become a part of our community, which comes with GSTC membership benefit, including lifelong membership, certification upgrade, workshop, boot camps, learning club access, also the full benefit of GSTC AI Studio, and many more. With that, it's time to welcome our today's speaker. Today we have Jamie with us. Jamie is an award-winning HR leader and CEO of People Avenue, known for his expertise in cultural transformation, change management, and executive development. Recognized as Australian Leader of the Year, he has delivered impactful results globally as an international keynote speaker. He played a vital role in leading and successful closure and transformation of GM Holden, turning it into a top performing plant in its final, its final months. Jamie is also the founder of Get Good Consulting, supporting organizations across Asia Pacific. His people focused strategies drive innovation, engagement, and business growth worldwide. And today he is going to lead the session on organizational changes, lesson from one of Australia's largest workforce transformation. But before handing over the virtual mic, just a quick reminder. If you have any query regarding the GSDC initiative, or if you would like to connect with Jamie for any kind of query, please feel free to use the chat box. Once again, don't be shy. Drop your reactions, emojis, and quick comment into the chat. That's how we know you're with us, actively listening and absorbing from this insightful session. We also have an announcement to make at the end of today's session, which is a $400 worth gift certification voucher. So hang tight till today's end of the session. With that, it's time to welcome Jamie on our platform. Thank you so much, Jamie, coming on our platform. We are very honored to have you as our speaker today. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. Really looking forward to sharing some information for you. I will just share my screen with you now. Hopefully that can all be seen well. Okay, so thank you for the wonderful introduction. So as was mentioned, my name is Jamie Getgood, and you're all probably looking at my last name going, that can't be real. Well, it is. It truly is Getgood. And I'm going to share a little bit of information about my life with General Motors. And the unions that I used to work with there used to have fun with my last name and used to call me Get Good and Get Bad, Get Lost, and a few other names. So today, I'm going to take you on a journey of one of the largest transformation, in fact, workplace changes or industry changes that Australia has seen. In particular, I was the head of HR for Holden, which is the brand, the Australian brand of General Motors. And so I was involved in automotive manufacturing facilities right across Australia. And I've also been a HR guy for a long time. So I was in senior HR roles with many organizations, but mainly a lot of my time was with General Motors. And I've been in HR for 20 plus years. But to start this story, I'm going to take you on a journey of General Motors and how we were able to transform General Motors through great culture, great leadership, but more importantly, we used learning and development and training principles to bring people into an incredible outcome. And whilst I'm going to share the closure of automotive in Australia and how that was such a significant impact, I'm also going to show how focusing on the HR elements within our business, including learning and development and training, absolutely transformed our business and made us one of the best car plants in the world. So before we start, I am going to share a video which will give you some background and some information as to who is Holden. It's a General Motors facility. And what was the story and what happened to get us to this start of this journey? So I'm going to share a video now. Enjoy.
I gotta tell you, gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, gotta tell you. Yeah, no, I said it's true. I could feel the love, can you feel it too? I could feel it I could feel it You know I said it's true. I could feel the love, can you feel it too?
The project became a reality, and in 1948, Prime Minister Chipley launched Australia's own car,
You know I
Holden.
said it's true. I could feel the love, can you feel it too? I could feel it I could feel it yeah. You know I said it's true. I could feel the love, can you feel it too? I can feel it I can feel it You know I said it's true. I can feel the love, can you feel it too? I can feel it I can feel it
Do you feel like the man who killed Bambi?
No, because I think the economic environment we're in is really what impacted auto manufacturing in this country. So it's not myself, it's not the leadership team here, it's the economic factors that we were facing. It just wasn't economically viable.
You'd expect Holden's Director of Human Resources, Jamie Getgood, would be Australia's most hated boss. But he's earning praise from all sides for helping Holden's huge workforce in their search for new jobs.
You've got a school lined up or you...
Not yet.
As he walked the floor in the final weeks, Jamie's advice was to jump sooner rather than later. Don't wait to the last day.
Any news on the job?
Oh yeah, got some good news yesterday. I got a release manager role at DXC at the North Terrace.
Wow, well done.
We could have done what we have done in previous times and not done a lot, but we really felt that we need to do the right thing as an organisation. We know the impact Holden has to this country, to this community, but also to our workforce.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here. The amount of people I've met and worked with are probably something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Tell me, what is it about this Elizabeth site? What makes it so special?
What makes this Elizabeth site special? I wish you hadn't done this. I'm sorry. You have to stop.
That's okay.
No, I'm going to have to stop.
Let me get you a tissue. Just tell me what you're feeling.
I can honestly say working with the people here at Holden has been such an amazing experience, not only just to learn about the workforce and the skills that they have, but what kind of people they are as well. So they're an amazing group of people, and it's an honour to work here and have the position that I have working here. That's
Driving around the roundabout this morning on the way into work, and you see the big Holden symbol on the paint shop as you come around the roundabout, and I just felt it. I just felt the hit as I drove past.
So think about this. You've just joined Australia's own vehicle, probably the number one car in Australia for 50 odd years. You are in an automotive industry that has around 100,000 people, and that industry is now closing. It wasn't just General Motors that announced closure, it was Ford and Toyota. And you're the head of HR, and you are now in this position where you have to close. Now, it's actually a really tough position to be in, because this was not just closing a small little facility. We had hundreds of thousands of people across the whole country that were impacted by this decision. So let me give you a bit more background. The brand Holden is not just any car. We've been around. It's actually the oldest brand in the world. It was the brand started in 1856 as a saddlery business before they made cars. And then General Motors bought into them in the early 1900s before we then became the powerhouse that we were. If you go to the 1960s and 1970s, the market share for Holden in Australia was around 60 to 70% of all vehicles sold were from Holden. This was an Australian icon. Everyone in Australia has a memory of this vehicle and loved this vehicle. So this was so famous. It was like Australian rules football. It was like Vegemite. It was like kangaroos. It was an icon. The problem is people saw us a little bit like this photo, like an old antiquated brand. The reality was we were a world-class facility. We had cars that were so good. They were the most advanced cars that were ever built in Australia. And General Motors ended up using our Australian car as their NASCAR. So it was an incredible vehicle. But here's the problem. When I joined in 2011, the business was not performing. Now, this was well before we announced closure. We had an employee engagement score of 36%, which is not great. Now, this is a little deceiving because that 36% was the whole business, which included our head office and our marketing team and our sales. If you looked at our engagement scores in our manufacturing plants where we built cars, it was actually closer to 18%. So we were not performing as a business. So I joined the business, and this was the problem that faced me. So I joined in 2011. We had already gone through some threatening of closure back in 2009. But in 2011, I joined the business and walked straight into an enterprise bargaining agreement and negotiating with unions. And it was very clear to me when I joined that the culture was not great. And in fact, the leadership was not great. And I joined the business, and I, in fact, got verbally abused by an executive in my first week. And it was they didn't take care of their people. They didn't really get involved in learning and development. They didn't want to help people's careers or generate purpose or value for the organization or for people. So what that meant is our business wasn't performing. In 2011, we were a bottom quartile performer in General Motors. So in context, General Motors had 170 factories all around the world, and we're in the bottom quarter, and we were getting ready to be announced for closure because we weren't performing. So we decided in 2011 we need to change and do something drastic, or we were going to have to close. I'm going to come back to some of the leadership principles and training pieces that we did to improve the business. But despite improving the business in 2011 and 2012 and 2013, we had moved from a bottom quartile business in 2013 to a top 10 car plant in 2013. So we are now, and I'll share how we got there, how we are now a performing business. But in 2013, we had to announce closure. Now, when we announced closure, it wasn't just General Motors announcing closure, Ford and Toyota announced, and the whole industry had to close. And we decided as a leadership team, well, we're now a people-focused leadership team. If all we do as a leadership team is shrink the business, we failed. If we just slowly close the doors and let everyone go on a slow path and exit everyone, we haven't done the right thing as a company or as leaders. We knew that our people generally cared for each other. So how do we build a culture? How do we develop people for their own futures, knowing that it wouldn't be with us because we were closing? How do we develop a training and a career pathway so they could be the best they could be in the final 4 years that we were going to build cars? So we also had to be mindful that we had this Australian icon. We had passionate car supporters. We had car fans. So when we had going to racing competitions, the Holden brand had a huge fan network. We had many, many supporters. So when we were making decisions about how we were going to close, we had to be respecting the past, be mindful of the present because our current workforce is going to be impacted, but also thinking of the future because we still intended to sell cars into the future, even though we weren't making them in the country. So we decided back in 2011 that this had to be our focus, people. This is actually a photo that was taken on the very last day of building cars in Australia. I'm the one on the right with the glasses. You can see I've got a bit of a beard there, and I had a lot more hair. But I love this photo because it really showed at the end of manufacturing cars in Australia what our culture was like. This is me on the factory floor getting hugs from everyone, and we were celebrating our last car. And that's what great culture, that's what great HR can do. So how did we get there? So we got to a point where we had to show and change the business. I joined in 2011. The culture was not great. We were not treating people well. We didn't develop their careers. We didn't even help them learn their jobs properly. And we were very harsh as leaders. So we wanted to put a new model for culture. Now, we Googled it, and if you Google culture and how to do culture, there's 1,000 models that will come up. And the best model we heard was this one, actually, which is really simple. Culture is what behavior standards and systems you will accept, what behavior standards and systems you will reject, and finally, how do you relate to people? And these three things became pivotal in how we were going to transform our business from that bottom quartile business in 2011 to one of the best car plants in the world. So what did we do? Well, first and foremost, we changed our focus to be all about people. We knew we had grown leaders in the business. If you were a really good car maker or a mechanic, you probably were going to be a leader in the future. But that doesn't mean you're a good leader because we never trained leaders. We just put them in a leadership role and said, good luck. So when I joined in 2011, one of the first things we did was we built a training program around how do we train our leaders to be leaders, but not just leaders. I wanted them to focus on relational leadership and behavioral leadership. So I ran a session which I called Being Human. And you could say that was a little condescending, maybe it was, but the intent of that was to help people forget about project management, forget about the tasks of leadership. I want you to focus on how you relate to people. How do you talk to people when you get to work? How do you build a first impressions? How do you show confidence when you speak? What does your body language tell people in your teams? And how often are you talking to your people? So I built this training program around that, and it was covered. And I'm going to share a little insight to what we covered in that topic. It was based around these three core communication principles, which is intentional karma. So if you're a leader and you're trying to build your teams, make sure that when you talk, you say things with control. And I call it intentional calmness. Because if you look back to what we were like as a company before 2011, we were very aggressive. We were very loud. We didn't let people talk. We talked over them. And we didn't know how to speak in front of people. So I ran, as part of this session, helping leaders understand about this, saying it with control. And it meant before you even talk, begin with a breath. Breathe. Deactivate that fight or flight response. Give your brain a chance to soak up information. But also when you talk, think about the words, not just the words that come out, but how you speak. And hopefully you've seen it when I speak. We want people to think about their tone and their variation. And when I speak, when I'm talking about something really exciting, I'll speed up and I'll get a little louder. But when it's something super important, I want you to slow down and get to the very important points. And it's such a simple training session that we ran. Help people understand tone and variation, when to pause in a communication, how do you speak calmly and assert authority. But also, more importantly, there's body language as part of this. Display warm cues. When you tilt your head, you automatically build trust with people because chemically we are asserting that they're actually being honest with us. When you smile, you release oxytocin to your brain, but you also release oxytocin in their brain because we have mirror neurons that are determining what a smile does to them and us. So we ran a session around saying it with control. We then talked about confidence and when you speak to your team, say it with confidence. Use assertive language instead of tentative or apologetic. Now, if you're a leader, you need to be a leader. So you've got to do it with calmness and kind and speak calmly, but you still need to be assertive and confident. And confidence comes after you speak assertively, not before. And it's actually, you'll notice when you are more assertive in your speaking, you will be portrayed by people that you're more confident. But again, coming back to body language, how are you holding your body shape when you lead your teams? When you're standing up and running a training session, do you have your shoulders broad? Are you holding your chest up a little bit? Do you have the right body language? It makes a huge difference to the people listening to you and how much they will soak in. But also, you don't have to say lots of words, but more intentional and powerful words. So confidence was a really important part. And then the third point, which was really part of this, getting people to soak in what leadership was about in this new business we were trying to create, say it to connect. So try and make sure you're using conversational frames to set the tone. Also clarify the topic and the desired outcome. Try and make sure that every conversation you have is not just delivering a message, but it's clear, it's relational, and people are buying into everything that you say. And I thought I'd share that first subject, that first training program we ran, because it was this training program that underpinned the change in our culture and the way we led. It was this training program that got our people starting to go, wow, they actually care about us. They listen to us now. And it was such a pivotal point from a learning and development point of view in my eyes that we had such a significant impact on the culture because we now trained our leaders in this way. So we also had General Motors. We were owned by General Motors. That we were part of the big beast. They have a world-class training system, which they call GMS, which is Global Manufacturing System. It's basically the same as the TPS, Toyota Production System, that you may have read about elsewhere. It's almost identical, and it focuses on continuous improvement, people involvement, standardization, building quality, or lead time. And it was actually such a powerful program that we had. But when I joined the business, we weren't even using it. We weren't training people in this area. So part of our cultural change was not just about training our leaders, but bringing people into this beautiful structured training system and productivity system that allowed us to do everything and align everything beautifully. So training was a pivotal part about us going from a bottom quartile business to an incredible business. But that wasn't all. Now, I'm not going to go through all these dot points. Here are some of the other items we did to transform our business. I mentioned about focusing on our people, but we also talked to people about who is your boss. And it wasn't the CEO, it wasn't the executive director, it was your team leader. So how do we develop every level of our business? How do we develop the team leaders and supervisors so they're playing their position, so that they have the knowledge and the communication and the clarity from their leaders to really inspire their own people? We also went through a situation where we had not built a lot of trust in the past. So we started being a lot more transparent, and I've put a term there, tell it as it is. Don't sugarcoat things. Don't keep things secret. Be transparent with your people. The other factor is we were keeping things secret a lot. So we introduced a program called, and you'll see it a quarter of the way down, called Do Diagonal Slices Weekly. Well, when I joined the business, we actually did it daily. And all a diagonal slice is we grab a cross-sectional group of people from across the business, and we might get 3 people from manufacturing and 2 from engineering and 1 from finance and 1 from IT. We'd bring them into a room and we would tell them everything that's happening in the business. Our goals, what's happening with our finances, what's happening with a new car. We tell them everything. And we gave them a chance to ask any question and we would answer it. Now, we did that every day initially for 6 months, and then we eventually moved it to weekly. But the reason we did that was, don't forget, when I joined the business, we had no culture and the business was not performing. Just by doing that alone, we completely killed the rumor mill. No one was unsure about what was happening. No one was gossiping about what they think was happening. This was an area where they got truth. And that built trust. Absolutely powerful. The other thing that I instigated, which I actually think was one of the biggest things that we did, was actually a couple of dot points down. And it's conduct daily production walks. So as head of HR, I actually gave all of our leaders in the business a new direction, a new KPI. And that KPI was, you must block out 30 minutes a day out of your calendar. You can choose when, but you must block out 30 minutes out of your calendar. And why was that? Because I wanted you to walk the floor or the office if you're in the office, and I want you to talk to your people, but not about work. I just want you to get to know your people. I want you to know what they do on the weekends. I want you to know what their favorite food is, what sport they like, what does their partner do? Do they have a pet? Ask all these questions, get to know them. And more importantly, get to know their aspirations and their dreams, and not even their work dreams. Maybe someone has a desire to be a hairdresser. Great. Now that you know that, you might be able to coach them in different ways that inspires them. So it was one of the pivotal things that absolutely built trust across the business and got us to understand the purpose and values of our people. And guess what? If you now know that someone loves doing finance for their sporting club in their own time, and they have a love for finance, and you're in a position where you've got a finance project and you can bring that person in, powerful. That person now is involved in something they enjoy doing, and now their purpose in the business means a lot more to them. So it was a really powerful thing that we did. Then we had a whole heap of other items here. Playing your position, management team works overtime. We increased our communication. We did a whole heap of things to impact our culture. Sorry, it's not changing slides on me. Here we go. But all that work that I've just shared with you was what we did in 2011 when we were a bottom quartile business, we were not performing. After doing all of those items I just shared with you and all of that training, we went from a bottom quartile to a top 10 car plant in General Motors worldwide. We were in the top 10. Now, despite being in the top 10, the economic factors in Australia were so difficult that it became too hard to keep building cars in Australia. So that is when we announced closure in 2013. Ford announced closure and so did Toyota. Every car maker in Australia announced closure at the same time because of those economic factors. Much bigger story for another day. Happy to share with someone else outside of this training program. So we are now in this closure. Now, we could have kept that a secret, knowing we were going to close, because we didn't have to close until 2017 or 2018. So we could have said, no, let's keep it to ourselves. Let's do all this planning. And we decided, no, if we are truly going to be leaders based on all the training we've just done on transparency and trust and relationship building, we have to tell them straight away. So instead of holding on to it, we gave people 4 years notice that we were going to close. And that sounds like a really good plan. We give everyone 4 years notice that we're going to close. They got 4 more years of work. But here's the problem now. It created an expectation with everyone that we were going to give them jobs at the end with someone else. We were going to build a transition program. Now, we could have said, not our responsibility. But now we're in this position where we are now people-focused leaders. We care about our people. And if we don't do something and people find out we're closing, maybe the performance will drop because we're now a top 10 car plant. So we made a decision to build a world-class hold and transition program to help people, not just through that last 4 years of building cars in Australia, but how do we have this amazing opportunity to retrain people into new careers. So in 4 years' time, when they finish with us, they can go straight into another job in another industry or another employer. And then we can put a hand on our heart and say, we did the right thing. So that's exactly what we did. We invested $15 million towards a transition program to help people completely change careers when they finish with us in 4 years' time. And we built it over 4 phases. Phase 1, help people understand the scenario we're in, the environment, economic environment they're in, and the resources available to them. Phase 2, let's help everyone explore future career options. So we did career management and counseling, and we got people to dream about what they wanted to do when they finish with us. And from that, we then gave them some training money to train towards a completely new career. So we had people that were training to be nurses, trained to be in banks, trained for people to get into the accounting field. We had people trained to be in the support and care industry. It was an incredible career option, but training program we built. We then went into phase 3, but it's good that we've trained them for new jobs. How do we help them with the job ready piece, the resumes, the interview skills, and so forth? And then finally, phase 4, we will keep some employment support options available to them when we finish. So we didn't have to do any of that. We did that because we knew if we take care of our people in this last 4 years, our performance shouldn't drop. But it wasn't just about hard skills. What I love about this program was our automotive workers were highly skilled. We had to run we ran a session with them to help them understand the incredible transferable skills that they had, like continuous improvement and lean principles and hazard identification and Kaizen and all these transferable skills that they had and used every single day. And we thought if we can help people understand them, they can use these in whatever career they take when they finish with us. So we realized it wasn't just about hard skills. It was helping people understand the soft skills that they had, but also the transferable skills that they had that they didn't even realize. So we built our transition center. We did this in a super quick time frame. It was within the first few months. And then for the next 3.5 years, our people had access to the center to absolutely do all of those 4 phases that I shared. We had employers from all around Australia coming in and visiting the centre, meeting people, offering jobs, creating opportunities for new pathways. Absolutely incredible. Now, that all sounds great. Well done, Jamie. You ran a good HR program. You trained people. You did well. But all that doesn't mean anything from a company point of view, especially General Motors' point of view, if our business results stop because people know that we're closing. So here's what happened with our business results despite us announcing closure. So this is our attendance at our main manufacturing facility. If you have a look down at the little bottom line, this average pre-2009 line, we averaged about 9% absenteeism. When we were getting close to closure, because of the training, because of the culture, our attendance had gone from 9% absenteeism to 3.6% absenteeism. Absolutely incredible. That's what good culture does. We also won a number of plant awards. So don't forget, we're now part of General Motors. There's 170 factories all around the world. And despite us announcing closure, for the next 4 years, we won all these trophies. In 2016, a year before we closed, we were named the most valuable plant in General Motors International for safety. The next 4 trophies, the lightning-looking ones, we had 5. I just didn't get a photo of the 5th one. For 5 years in a row, most significantly improved plant in General Motors International for cost. So despite spending $15 million on our people and running a world-class transition program, despite having fewer people and a build rate that was going down, we were winning cost awards not because we were cutting costs, but our people were so engaged, every metric in our business improved. Productivity, quality, safety, every metric, which meant our cost metric improved. And then we look at quality. So this is our graph of our right first time quality. Now you're looking at this chart going, well, Jamie, the start of this graph doesn't look very good. You're very low. Well, yes. So this is the life of our last car. Now, when you start a brand new car, you're always going to have low scores. So when it's down around the 65, that's because we've got a new car, new processes, and people are learning how to build it. What you want is to get above the 85% line. And this metric is what we call DRR, direct run rate. This means that for every part, or the 10,000 parts in a car, for example, if every part is built 100% correctly with no quality or no fitment issues, you would get 100%. So 85% globally was an accepted target for most car manufacturers. What I'm really proud of, despite announcing closure here in December 13, we continued to skyrocket above the metrics and we had to keep raising the target. So for our last 9 months of building cars in Australia, we were the #1 car plant in the world for quality. Despite being in a closure environment, despite people knowing that they don't have a job next year. Absolutely incredible. And that's what good leadership, that's what good culture, that's what good training programs do. And then finally, we have a HR metric. This was our employee engagement survey results. Now, you'll see the red in 2011 when I joined, and remember I said it wasn't great. Purple is 2016. This was the last engagement survey we ran before we closed. Now, the 2 areas that did not improve are engagement and personal professional growth. But just remember, we announced closure in 2013. And the questions in that engagement and professional growth category are, do you believe you have future career opportunities? Do you think about leaving, and would you recommend employment to a friend? Well, no, of course not, because you're closing. However, every other people metric, commitment 54% to 63%, trust went from 38% to 71%, fairness 43 to 78, teamwork 71 to 90. And you can see the trend. Every metric improved, people metric improved, because we fixed our culture and our training programs. But what about transition, Jamie? You've closed, you created this amazing transition program to help people move to new jobs and new careers and new industries. Well, that program went very well too. We ended up overall, there were different phases, but overall we ended up with 86% of our workforce transitioning to completely new industries and jobs within 12 months of us closing the facility. There's not many metrics anywhere around the world that gets close to that. The best one we found was a mining group in Australia that had 56%. So we're super proud of this metric. So my core message, just to finish up, I know I'm just about out of time, but my principle when it comes to learning and development, culture, HR, training, any of these topics is this, which is my favorite quote of all time. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And if we as HR leaders or just leaders can build people's careers, build people's development, if we can help people in the culture of the organization by doing these activities, it impacts that last point of how we make them feel, because all of a sudden they will feel like that they have more purpose, they have more value to the organization. And by focusing on these things, you'll end up getting better business results. You'll get better outcomes for the people. And in our case, despite closing not just General Motors, the whole industry, which I got involved with both General Motors and the Australian government because the whole supply chain was closing as well. I ended up winning Australian Leader of the Year because of my work in this area. But it's not because we just had a great transition program. It's because we took care of people on that journey. We trained them, we gave them purpose and values. And I'm super proud of how that all went, because despite one of the hardest change projects, this was not just a business closing, this was a whole industry. We ended up with world-class outcomes, and our business was performing to the very last day it built cars. So super proud of all that. I'm happy to take questions now. I think I'm right on my 45 minutes that I've got to allow time for questions.
First of all, thank you so much, Jamie, for the amazing and impactful session. And today's learning journey was a roller coaster ride. So I'm sure our participants have learned a lot today. So the participant floor is officially open for question and answer. If you have any question, please feel free to use the chat box. Meanwhile, we do have few questions from the participant of LinkedIn and YouTube. So the first question we have, when employees face uncertainty or even closure, how can leaders maintain trust and emotional stability within teams?
Yeah, great question. Look, I think first and foremost, you need to get to know your people. You need to spend time with them. You need to actually get to understand what is their fear about the closure. What do they want from closure? Sometimes it's very easy to ask, what does the company want? But what does the person want? Some people are happy to leave. Some people just want some training and some support. So first and foremost, get to know your people, ask the right questions, get them in a group. And that might involve, some very caring one-on-ones. It might involve getting counselors involved so people have someone to talk to. But first and foremost, get to know your people, because I think that will be the core for them to understand that everything's going to be okay. And then some of you may have heard this. There's what's her name? I'm forgetting the person, but there's this analogy of a marble jar. And trust is very much like an employee having a marble jar. Every time you do something small and consistent, it's like someone's putting marbles in a jar. And every time you do something, you say something, you trust them, you say something nice, you encourage them, you let them do something and you trust them to do that, they put a marble in their jar. And the theory is if they've got a full marble jar, they have trust. But if you don't do those items, they take marbles out of the jar. So trust is built on consistent behavior. Trust is built when you turn up to work every day and say hello, when you ask them questions about them, when they trust you with something, you don't break that trust. So trust is built over a period of time. So when you have a sudden announcement, the marbles get taken out of the jar. So you have to slowly build that on a daily basis. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the amazing answer. So the next question we have, in a transformation as large as Holden's, what was the biggest leadership mistake you saw, and what can today's leader learn from it?
Yes. So I think there's a couple of answers here. First and foremost, make sure that every department is aligned. One of the mistakes we made was we were very good at our communication and building trust with our people, especially in the manufacturing facilities. But we didn't align ourselves very well with our sales and marketing team. And what happened was when we announced closure, we did a really good job at making our people feel like we're going to take care of you when we announced closure. But sales and marketing thought they should do an advertising campaign which went all across Australia, and their main line was, "We're here to stay." And that was almost like insulting our people, because we've just told them they're not going to have a job in a few years, and our marketing team saying we're here to stay. So very quickly we had to get all of our departments in, because unfortunately we didn't when we first got the news of closure. We just jumped into the action. Make sure everyone, every leader of every department is on the same page. And when you are also trying to get everyone aligned with a transition program or a change program, every leader needs to be aligned. Now, that also means those leaders have to be the right leaders. One of the things I learned very quickly was if they are not the right leaders, sometimes you actually have to exit them or make strong decisions about how they lead, or they will be exited. And we had a couple of leaders that didn't come on the journey and caused some problems and were not willing to build trust and relationships. And the best thing I did once I found out was I exited them from the business. I made a really tough decision, and guess what happened? Our culture improved when they left because they were the detractors to our culture. So tough decisions, having leadership all on the same page, and making sure all departments are on the same page. And there's probably 100 other things I could...
Sorry, go ahead, please.
There's probably
go ahead,
100
please.
other things I could say, because, not trusting the unions, not communicating with the unions was something we did in the early days, but then I fixed that by communicating with them regularly. There's 100 things I would do if I could have done better, but I think we ended up with a pretty good program.
Absolutely agreed. And thank you so much for the detailed and thoughtful answer. So we have one question from Victor. How do you maintain professional standard without downplaying the people interest?
Yeah, great question. Look, first and foremost, it has to start at the top. If you don't have your leaders operating at professional standards, how can you expect your people to? So, as I said, we held our leaders to account that they have to operate to professional standards as well. It also one of the very powerful tools, and some of you may know this, there's a guy by the name of Simon Sinek who has a topic called Start With Why. And he uses that in many forms, but I took that concept and we built in the word why into everything we did. So, for example, when we were going through our General Motors system and retraining everyone, we put a why into all of our standard operating procedures. So the standard operating procedure was the professional standard you had to meet. But by having the why in there, we did two things. The person understood why we were running that standard to be at that level. And most people are willing to do more if they understand why. And I'll give you a real example. If you have to put a headlight on a car and you don't do it properly, you actually can cause a situation that might kill someone. So if we put the why into our standard operating procedure, the reason you put this headlight on in this certain way is because it will be safe, it will be secure, and it won't blind people or it won't cause a problem, which will keep people alive. Just by knowing that, guess what? You're going to put that headlight on in line with the standard operating procedure. So help people understand the why. Most people will come on the journey with you and will follow the standards that you set if you give them the reason behind it and help them understand how critical their role is in the business. I think that's something we miss sometimes. We tell people, here's your job, it's important, but we don't tell them why it's important. If you're a payroll person, you might think, I just pay people. That's not important. Well, actually, by you paying people correctly and doing your job well, people are confident that their money's going to be in the bank at the right time, which means they don't stress about their mortgage, they don't stress about their loans. And guess what? You're now helping people put food on the table because their money's on time. And people are now able to buy gifts for their kids because their money's on time. So your role in payroll is critical to the culture of our business. Simple explanation, but just by allowing people to think about how their role makes a difference to the bigger picture, changes everything for everyone. That means they will follow a professional standard. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you so much for the amazing and insightful answer. So with that, we'll wrap up the question answer segment as we are running out of the time. But I'll be sharing Jamie's LinkedIn ID into the chat box so that you can connect with him directly for any kind of query, any kind of guidance. I'm sure Jamie would be happy to help you out, right, Jamie?
Absolutely.
So
More than happy.
thank you so much. So before moving forward, would you like to give any final statement, please?
Look, I think my final statement is probably my very last quote. Just in everything you do with leadership, whether it be as a CEO, a HR leader, or a learning development professional, before you just put out a program, before you just do a training agenda, think about how does this agenda, how does this program, how does this approach make someone feel? Because if you can get that right, they will buy into your training, they will latch onto it, they'll learn quicker, and then they'll get the actions that you want out of that training far quicker. So don't make it about what they learn and what they hear and what they know. Make sure people feel what you're doing. That is the critical difference that a lot of leaders miss. That is why some leaders are successful and others are not.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insight, and that gives our participant to think about something. And I'm sure today's session has helped them to upskill their career journey. So thank you so much once again. So participant, as I promised, I'll be sharing the Jamie's LinkedIn ID into the chat box. So I have shared this. Do connect with them directly for any kind of query and any kind of guidance. So with that, not keeping you and participant for a long time, just allow me a minute to share my screen. So we'll wrap up this very quickly. So participant, if you are ready to get certified into the learning and development for any of the domain, so certifications are available onto our website now. We are also giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you a 20% off So while I'm sharing the coupon code link into the chat box so that you don't miss out. So if you want to get certified into the L&D for any of the domain, check out our website, use the coupon code link, get 20% off and get certified. So before wrapping up the session, I just wanted to make a quick announcement regarding the utility tool. So if you're on your job hunting journey, then this tool is specially for you. What you can do, you can log in into utility tool by using your LinkedIn ID and password, and it will re-improvise your LinkedIn profile. It will give you a recommendation to do changes according to the job designation you are targeting and the industry you are targeting, and stand out your resume in front of the HRs and recruiter. Will also help you to screen your resume into the AI ATS system. So if you're on your job hunting journey, take the help of utility tool and make your job hunting journey easier. So to make this journey a little bit easier and a help from GSDC, we are giving a complimentary coupon code to all of our participants, which will give you 100% off for using this tool. So take the advantage of this offer because it is for a very limited time of period, and make sure you're taking the help of it. And also all the best to all of the job hunters out there. So as today we had an amazing and impactful session with Jamie, tomorrow we are going to have one more insightful session with Satya. Satya is L2 SOC analyst at Portrait Cybersecurity Company, and he's going to lead the session on building collaborative learning communities, creating environments that encourage knowledge sharing and collective problem solving. And it is going to happen tomorrow, 18th March at 10:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 11:30 p.m. Singapore time, 9 p.m. Indian time, and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow as well. And if you are one of those people who are enthusiastic regarding the ISO, then this webinar is for you. So this is going to be conducted from 16th to 20th March at 9:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 10:30 p.m. Singapore time, 8 p.m. Indian time, and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you're one of those people who wants to learn regarding the new technologies of AI, then this webinar is for you. This is going to be scheduled from 16th to 20th March at 8:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 9:30 p.m. Singapore time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. With that, it's time to celebrate our referral champions today. We have Bhanu Durgesh, Olu Baga, and B. Venkatesh. So special thanks to all three of you for helping us amplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. So you can also become one of our knowledge professional and advisors. What you have to do, if any of your peers, colleagues, and professional wants to join for this webinar or any other webinar, you can refer the registration link, which you will find on our website. What's in it for you? So you will get a referral for every reference. And once you hit a 50 referral point, you will be able to get a free $400 worth gift certification voucher. But as always, this offer is also available for a limited time of period. So make sure that taking the advantage of it and become one of our knowledge professional and advisors. We would love to have you in our community. Also, if you would like to be speaker for one of our learning capsules, webinar, podcast for this session or any other domain session, you're more than welcome to join us. You can reach out at pratibha@gsdccouncil.org and preetham@gsdccouncil.org. I have shared the email ID into the chat box so that you don't miss out. And these are the vertical in which we do our business module, our partnership module. First is B2C, direct to professional, retail, individual certifications, professional. And second is channel to reseller model, authorized training partners. Third is academic institutional partnership, accredited university academic partnership. And B2B is direct. Fourth is B2B, direct to organizations, enterprise partnership. So if any of you interested for doing a partnership for any of the vertical, do reach out to the spokesperson email ID given onto the slide. I have already shared this slide into the chat box. Thank you so much. And these are the platform where you can connect with us: our LinkedIn profile, our official WhatsApp channel, our YouTube channel, our Instagram channel, our Twitter channel, as well as our Pinterest channel. Also, we would love to hear your session key takeaways and learning outcomes. We would love to know what most resonated with you. What are your feedbacks and suggestions? So I have shared all of the platforms link into the chat box so that you can connect with us for staying updated. regarding our upcoming events and trends. And I've also shared reviews.io link. Do share your feedbacks and suggestions over there, because your feedbacks and suggestions help us improving our program and make your learning journey even more engaging, dynamic, and insightful. With that, it's time to come to event end. Thank you so much once again, Jamie, coming on our platform. Very honored to have you here today and had a blast into your session. Looking forward to having in the future sessions as well. Thank you so much to all of the participants for joining into our learning journey. I'm hoping to see you all tomorrow as well. Till then, keep learning, keep energizing. Have a good day, good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.